Well, we met, I was stationed in Colorado and with 2 buddies there. And after school, we got separated. Those 2 went to Columbus and I went to Korea. When I finished my tour in Korea, I was sent to Columbus. So first day there, I looked these guys up, and so we go to a bar that night. And about 11 o'clock, Chris says, "Oh, I was supposed to go out with," what was her name?
Sharon.
Sharon, yeah, tonight. And he called her and he told her the story about, this buddy coming in and he kind of to prove his story, he asked me to go down with them the following night.
Okay.
And Betty lived with that family. And that's how I met Betty. And she was so beautiful. I wasn't going to ask her out because I didn't think she'd go out. She was just that beautiful. And so everybody made arrangements that we all go out the following night. And so we did. And anyway, from there on, we start going together.
Commitment.
Basically, you have the same idea how they want their life to go on, like before we got married, we were making plans of kind of house we wanted to live in. We wanted 8 children.
Which was
We changed before we changed our mind.
That was Eddie's fault.
I truly think the children is what made us stay together.
What other things bring you together as a couple?
Our kids
Yeah.
and our grandkids.
We had nothing in common, really, when we were married. Nothing.
Well, she likes to tease me about it. She likes horse shows, but she just likes to tease me.
We have nothing in common. We never had until dancing. That was the first
Right,
thing we
yeah.
had on the children. That was the biggie. The biggie. Not very long,
Couple
6
months.
months.
Probably within 2 months, we decided
Yeah.
to get married.
About 6 months, yeah, we were married.
And Ed, how did you know she was the one for you after that amount of time?
Well, that probably that week.
That week?
Yeah,
What about that
it
week?
didn't take long.
Well, what is it that told you she was the right one?
Well, I don't know.
Back then, you don't think that far ahead.
What can you know about somebody in a week? I don't know, we just started talking about
Yeah.
what we would like when we got married.
Yeah, we,
Not that we were gonna marry each other, but when we got married. And
I don't
just-
remember you ever asking me to marry you. We just assumed. It was just, we assumed. Don't you think?
yeah, that's right.
When you think of Ed, what are 3 words that come to mind that would describe him to you?
Bullheaded. A tease. And a very caring person.
Oh. And Ed, what would you say about Betty? What are 3 things you would use to describe, that you would say to describe Betty?
She still as beautiful as the first day I saw her. Oh, I want to tell you, we were at a dance.
There.
We were at a dance. I don't even know where it was. Is it out in Illinois?
Could be.
Anyway, Betty went over to talk to some of her friends, and as she's walking back across the dance floor, there's this lady in this beautiful red dress,
Burgundy.
black hair, and it's so
Brown
beautiful.
hair.
And it turned out that it was Betty. And I can still see her walking across that dance floor.
There was this one time that I heard my grandpa say the F word. and I'm glad not all your church friends are here, but it happened just one time. And the shocking part about it is it only happened one time, and I was scared out of my mind when it happened. So the story goes, this is what, 5-6 years, maybe more than that. Eddie and Grandpa and myself went out to New Mexico fly fishing. So we're at the airport and we're going through the baggage claim, and security was pretty tight at that time. And I'm over there, I get through there and I'm putting my boots back on, and my grandpa comes over, and I'm not going to repeat it, but Grandpa comes over and sits down next to me and says that they took his knife, his pocket knife. And when it had happened, I literally looked to like move away from him because it was such a shocking instance for it to happen, you know, for my grandpa. The reason it was so shocking is because they were so intentional about setting a beautiful example for their children, and me included. And I thank them for it every day, and you can see it in my children already. The way that you guys treated us, we can see it in them now. So, I'm not going to get all John Boehner up here on you. So I'm going to move past it. But on that trip, so we go out there, and we were fly fishing for a couple days, and we had some success early. And then towards the end of the trip, Grandpa, I remember looking over at Grandpa, and he's got this same old fly rod over there, and he's just over there casting away, and there's not even a fly on that thing anymore. It probably had been on there for 2 days. And but he was just enjoying it. And if you know Grandpa, you know that's kind of how he is. He just likes the subtle, peaceful, you know, walk through life. And so we're getting ready to leave, and it's the last day of a 5-day trip, and we're in this spot, and I went over and get Grandpa. And we get out to this spot, and I think maybe caught 2 or 3 fish the whole day. And I got maybe 10 minutes of light left. And I tie the best tie that I can come up with. I put 3 flies on there, and I said one of those really good prayers when you're just asking for the moon. And I asked for us to get 1 fish. That's all we needed. And right there at the buzzer, Grandpa hooks into a big one. And I'll never forget it. He was fighting that thing in the middle of that river, probably a good 10-15 minutes, something like that. And that was something that I'll hold precious to me forever. It was because we'd grown up talking about it my whole life. You know, we always just kind of dreamed together, and he would tell me stories and things like that. So they've given us so much, and I'm thankful every single day for the example that they've set for all of us. And I know that a lot of us mirror our own relationships with our wives, with your husbands and our children, and you guys have been an amazing example for us.
Well, it gave us something to do.
We didn't have earlier days.
Yeah. You know,
Debbie was born a year after we was married, so we always had.
I worked till 5, and long about 3 in the afternoon, I'd start getting up because I'm going to get home to Betty and my kids, and that was a big thing for me. You know, I get real excited about that.
Our life.
Describe your first home. Married home.
The apartment or the home?
The first place you guys lived.
Apartment in Norwood.
Well, our first one was in
up in Columbus. Yeah.
Columbus.
Oh,
You know, this is a long time ago.
I remember when it was so hot, and our apartment wasn't air conditioned. So we would go over to a park overlooking the river, and we'd cook some hot dogs and have beans for dinner, and watch the boats go up and down the river. And at that time, these boats going up and down the river were small, really small, 1 or 2 people, and they had really small engines in them, and they just go putt-putting up the river. You could see them turn around and come down, and then go up again and back down. It was just funny to watch them. You think, don't you get bored going around in a circle?
Don't you get bored watching them?
But anyway, we would stay there till it cooled off a bit. And it was kind of nice.
After Columbus, what was your next place where you lived?
Norwood.
What was that like? Describe that.
It's a big old house.
Second floor.
Yeah, it was nice, and Debbie was born by then, so I used to walk her up to Norwood shopping area, It was nice.
One thing I still remember about that Columbus apartment, Betty and I were just kind of russing around, and I guess we were making quite a bit of noise, and that little old lady downstairs come up to the hall and wanted to make sure she's okay.
I don't remember.
Then where did you live after Norwood?
Harvey Lane.
And where was that? And what was it like?
Just the other side of Batavia.
Yeah, it was a nice little ranch. A guy that he worked with's brother-in-law built it, and the first time we rode out here, I remember I thought, I am not living way out there. There is no way, So when we got out, the house was nice, just a little house, and it was
Real nice
something
yard.
we could afford. So I lived way out here, and I'm so thankful, really am. The kids to grow up out here was a blessing. I mean, our next choice would have been downtown or in Oakley or someplace like that. So we're very fortunate that we found that. It was $12,000, and we sold it for that.
You can't even buy a car for that.
Yeah, no.
And then after that, where did you
Here.
live? Here? And did you build this?
Yes.
Yes.
And what went into the planning? How was the planning process for you and
Well,
choosing?
Betty found the plan that she liked, which is this one. And I agreed it was.
But
Nice.
this builder had no problem with us whatsoever.
Now, in the meantime, we sold our house. And we had to be out of that house. I think we had, 3 months or something?
I know.
Anyway, called the builder and told him we got to move in. Well, when we moved in, they were varnishing the handrail there and doing a lot of other
Yeah.
Betty and Ed have been essentially not only my sister, but my brother, and I'm going to cry. But I'm going to tell you a story about Ed that nobody in this room is going to believe. I told Betty a little bit ago. When I got out of nursing, I had platinum blonde hair. And I did that for about 2.5 years, and Ed's not going to remember this. And so I went back to my natural color. And I was sitting there talking to Ed at the table, and I said, boy, I'm so glad I don't have to bleach my hair anymore. I said, I like the natural, it doesn't cost as much. And he says, well, let me tell you, you look like a hussy when you had that hair. And I said, why did you tell me when I had platinum hair I look like a hussy? He never did tell me why he didn't tell me. Do you remember that? I don't think I'll ever forget.
Well, that's got a down point. We would get up, the kids would get us up early in the morning, of course, and they'd open all their gifts. I had to go to work. And the kids were having their friends in, and they were going out to their friends. I didn't have nobody to play with them damn toys, I'm thinking, I'm sitting there looking at all these toys out there, nobody to play with.
He had to go to work to read, what was it?
Tell us about what you did, Dad. What'd you do for a living?
Oh, worked at a lab. We done a lot of work for General Electric and all your big aircraft and rocket industries. We tested metals.
So you had to go in on the holidays to read.
Yeah, I had to go in and take me about 4 hours every weekend,
Yeah.
actually. I had one material that was kind of unique. Several companies have worked on it and weren't able to get it the way it needed to be done. So we would test this at 2,300 degrees. And I had platinum strips welded to it so we could see how far it stretched. And I'd read it on a microscope. It would never stretch. It would never stretch. It was a material that they manufactured. And one time I had that little specimen about that big standing on the end. I bumped it, knocked it over, and it broke it. It was just a really weird material. It was great, but it was, they were trying to find ways to make it ductile, but still maintain the strength at 2,300 degrees. Mm-hmm. When I retired, I still don't know if they ever came up with a material. But that was kind of interesting to be testing all that stuff.
Are there times when you
She was
didn't agree?
always right.
I was, but you know, what can you say?
Well, later on, we found a way that to settle, and this was not for just piddly stuff like, I want to go to a movie tonight, no I don't, that type of thing. Pretty much serious stuff where you just get the kids out of the house, you sit down at a table, no radio, no TV or nothing, and whoever's got the complaint just spills it all out. The other person's not allowed to say anything, not allowed to interrupt it. I guess you probably read about this
No.
system, yeah.
This is good.
And you're only able to talk about the one subject that bothers you. You can't bring in a dozen other things. So this, I thought, worked out really well. I found out a few things about Betty that, I've been married 40 years and didn't know about. And, I thought it was very, very beneficial. And after we talked it all over and decided if anything could be done, we just decided, okay, we're finished with that. We never talk about it again. And that's worked out pretty good for us, hasn't it?
I asked that.
Busy.
It was in Columbus. My family,
Base Chapel.
his mother came up too, his mother and dad, and they was okay that day. They wasn't mean or anything. But my older sister planned it, and it was in the chapel, and they brought up a cake, and my mother and my two sisters. And I think Pat came.
One of my sisters,
Pat
I don't
came.
remember.
Yeah, it was Pat. Pat and her husband came, and that was it. My girlfriend was my best. It was very small.
Where did you go after that? Did you go out or did you do
To
anything?
our house. To our
Yeah, to
apartment.
our little apartment.
Everybody went there?
Yeah.
Dad was still working at Medcut. He had a sailboat, and every now and then he'd say, "You know what? I really like the look of that guy's pirate earring. You think that'd look good if I got a dangly sailboat on my earring? And I go, Dad, you're ridiculous. Nobody gets earrings. So a year later, Dad would say, you see that earring that dude's got over there? That would look good on me. Dad, come on. You're 65 years old. You're not going to get an earring. Don't be ridiculous. So probably another year later, he asked me, now where would a fella go to get his ear pierced? And I said, Dad, you go to the mall, you go to Spencer's, they'll shoot a gun through your ear and you're all set. Knowing he would never do it. Well, to my surprise, I asked him one night if he could drop by after work, and he didn't show up. And so I called Mom. I said, where's Dad? And she said, he went to the mall. Now, Dad hadn't been to the mall since 1953. And I said, why'd you go to the mall? She said, I don't know, you talk about some jewelry. Now, this is one time when my mother lied to me. I'm just saying right there. Mothers don't lie to your children. Scars them for life. So about a half hour later, Mom calls me and said, guess what your father did? And I said, he did not, because that's the only reason he'd ever go to the mall, to get his ear pierced. He did not. She said, yes, he did. Lie number 2. Yes, he did. He did not. Yes, he did. I'm coming over there. And I went over to their house. I called the neighbors. Do you know what your idiot neighbor did? He pierced his ear. Come over and see this. And then I'm like, Dad, you've got to be kidding me. You are too old for this kind of crap. And he's got a big diamond stud in his ear. And, but it was sore, so he wouldn't let me touch it. So I ranted and raved for, I know, a good hour. I'm yelling at the neighbors for letting them have their idiot neighbor pierce his ear. And about 2 days later, he was over at the house, and I kind of surprised him. And I reached over and grabbed him by the ear, and it was a magnet. He set that joke up for 3 years. Pulled the trigger on that, and I made an absolute idiot out of myself for days. So that's the kind of crap. Your mom lied to you, your dad pulled your leg. That's the kind of crap we had to live with our whole life. Just saying.
How long were you in the service after you got married?
About a year.
Probably close. Well, no, it wasn't a year.
Early in March.
Yeah, because Debbie was born down here, and she was,
Yeah, in Norwood.
yeah. So he was probably in for maybe 6 months after we was married.
And she's 60 now.
Huh?
And
Debbie's 60.
Debbie, can you believe that? You got a sister 60 years old.
Your youngest son is 52.
Our baby 52.
On the wedding day.
How did she look to me?
Yeah.
With the hat and gloves on.
Yeah, what did you think of that day?
You know, that's all I can remember is when the hell are our guests going home?
Now, Betty, what did he wear and what did you think of
He
him?
was in a uniform.
Okay.
Okay, what are your favorite memories from marriage? What?
Oh, yeah.
I remember in our early days of going over to the park, and when you guys were real little, and we spent an afternoon over there running around playing baseball. And
Dad, tell us about football in your high school.
oh, we had an excellent football team. At that time, we played 6-man football, and like I say, it was a good team.
What school was it?
I went to Coleraine when I was in first grade.
Oh, okay.
Taylor High.
Okay.
It was down in Cleves.
What about vacations? Where did you vacation as a family? What are typical vacation places?
The ones I remember were down to South Carolina.
Oh, yeah, at the beach. We went there a couple times. And
Went down to Dots a few times.
he had a condo in Woodson Bend that we went to a lot. I do remember he was climbing up the mountain or the hill,
Yeah.
and you said to Ed, "I got to piss." He was like 4 years old, and Ed said, "What did you say?" He says, "I've got to piss."
Yeah, we were pushing a car trying to get it started, and I was probably about 13 or 14. I don't really know. It wasn't going fast enough to kick over, and I said, "Some son of a bitch ain't pushing." Dad reared back and caught me on the chin, knocked me out. Well, not out, but I was down.
Yeah.
And groggy. And I got up and he says, "What'd you say?" And I'm not thinking yet. And I repeated it. Down I go again.
That's how intelligent he was.
Well, after the second time, I thought, something's going wrong here. I think I'm going to stay down here till I figure it out. I loved the South Carolina. We played on the beach.
Oh, it was nice. We had a friend who we went with, and with old people. We wasn't that old, but we'd sit rocking, remember, while you guys all played on the beach?
Found a place, liked it so much, found a lot, and we talked about buying that lot and then later on building a house, but we didn't do it. A couple years later, we went back to the same spot, and that lot we looked at, it was beachfront.
It was gone.
Yeah, it was gone. The storm washed sand in there, and the sand went out a couple hundred yards.
Oh, jeez.
So, now, I don't know what happens in that, does our lot still go out there to the water's edge, or
Couldn't build
are you
on
just
it,
landlocked?
Couldn't
Wow.
build on it.
I was really shocked when I saw that. Gee.
For us. So, thank you for that. And the last one I'm going to leave you with, just to kind of round out that story, is Grandpa and I decided that we were going to play a trick on Eddie on this trip. So we had this deal where you do like a Rochambeau type deal, but you throw a 1 or a 2. And the odd man out has to buy the meal every time. Well, Grandpa and I got together and we went against Eddie, and we every time throw a 1. Don't ever come off the 1. Stick with the 1 every time. Eddie bought every single meal for a week straight. He did, and we wouldn't let up on him. And every time I look over and Grandpa's doing that thing where he starts shaking. And so we get back and we're flying into Cincinnati.
This is where I caught you.
You didn't catch anybody. You didn't catch him. No, you didn't. I'm gonna catch my. I got the mic. So we're sitting at a TGI Fridays in Dallas, and I actually felt bad for him. I really did. I felt like we just smoked him for probably $600-700. And I look at Grandpa, and I still can't believe I did it. I really can't believe it. I threw a 2. And I'll never forget the look in his eyes when I betrayed him. I just completely betrayed him. And I still feel, I'm sorry. I'm sorry about that. No, you're not. It made for a good story. So. things that I've done in my life that, you know, he's had to step in, and he was always very, very graceful with the way that he would step in. It was like you would just get that utter disappointment out of him, and you know exactly what he's saying without a word coming out. So thank you guys so much, and you've been a beautiful model for all of us. So.